Okay, this is now the tarot lesson number 41, and it's the Hermit's journey, but in reverse order from the last time. And this is partly because Tala said, is there a significance between the Hermit looking this way or looking that way? So that could be a long answer, but I'll make it short. So what I'd like to do is show you, this is a horoscope, right? With the 12 houses, okay? And over here is sunrise, and over here is sunset. This is midday, and this is midnight. So if you look at it, the Hermit, if we put the Hermit here, the Hermit is looking in the direction of sunrise, whereas the Hermit reversed is looking in the direction of sunset. So the Hermit upright, we can say, is about new beginnings or doing something new because it's a new day, whereas the Hermit reversed is more focused on finishing things up because he's looking at sunset. That's one way of looking at it, and an idea about the Hermit. So if we take a look at the Hermit, so in with the idea of the Hermit being or looking to sunrise, and it can mean that the Hermit, we're going to do the Hermit's journey, but it's going to be, maybe it's going to give us ideas about how to handle any project if you want to do something new, right? Looking at a new day at sunrise. So maybe we've got, it'll give us a theme for the Hermit's journey. And the theme is going to be about doing something new or doing something different. Possible steps to go through to get to the place that you want to go. Let's say you get a creative project, can be the Hermit, and how do you deal with it? So step number one, and if you haven't seen this before, I followed the older method, which has justice as being number 8 and strength being 11, because it makes sense. So step number 1, if we look at the Hermit, he's got the lamp in his right hand and the baton in the left. Here we've got a change, because now we've got, instead of holding up the light, you're now holding a sword. And instead of holding the baton, which can be a support, you're looking at the scales. So there's a change. So step number 1 is to get ready for action, maybe, because you've got the idea and you've got one way of looking at the Hermit can be that the Hermit can represent inner truth or inner knowledge or inner something. And so the point of the journey is to get what's within you and make it visible to the world, right? So what is within becomes what is outside. So step number 1 is get ready for action. I've got 22 cards to go through, and if I take only even 1 minute with each card, we're looking at a 25-minute video. So I have to rush. So there's an awful lot you can say about the Justice card. There's a curtain we're leaving behind what we know, or we're deliberately closing ourselves off from the past, maybe. So we've figured out what it is that we want to do. We're not going to focus on past faults or past problems or past defeats or past anything. We're focused on the future. And that can be what the curtain represents. And the reason for doing this Hermit's journey is so we get ideas that we wouldn't have thought about or come across for every individual card. And so maybe that curtain in the Justice card, maybe you've wondered about what it might represent, and that's one thing that it can show. You've got the past, but you draw a veil over the past because, it's not important, it's not relevant, it's not useful to know. And now we're looking ahead. So step we're ready for action. The chariot. First, we're going on a journey. Instead of looking at the project as being a project, we're looking at it as a journey. And we're going to be driving the vehicle. Then we've got the lovers. So if we can say, if we look at the project as a journey, we're going to be in the Garden of Eden. We're going to be in paradise and perfection. And so we're going to be able to take action, represented by the man. We're going to be able to respond to circumstances, represented by the woman. And we're going to be guided by angels. We're going to have an overview, a beautiful, perfectly harmonious overview, and inner knowledge represented by the angel. So maybe what the hermit's doing is he is, or she is, connecting with the inner angel, and we're going to bring the inner angel and all that it represents into the world. But, so here we've got perfection in the Garden of Eden. We want to take the perfection of Eden and bring it down to earth and make it more mundane. And so we've got the same kind of shape here. The angel above becomes the Pope, or the Hierophant, and the man and the woman become the two students down below. So we take the beautiful, intangible, untouchable reality, and we're going to bring it down to earth. And the next step is focus on the masculine, focus on going out and making things happen and building and creating. Then, with the Empress, focus on response from the world, right? Because the masculine makes things happen, the feminine responds to circumstances. So maybe when you're under the influence of the Emperor, you do stuff. When you're under the influence of the Empress, you find out what people think about what you've done. Is it good? Is it valuable? What can be changed? What can be adjusted about it? But then we've got the High Priestess. So it's important to remind ourselves of the original vision, or the inner vision. Go think about the Hermit again. So at this point, we've asked people what they think, and now we have to take what they give us and retire into our private area and think through what they've given us. And if we do that, we become the magician. We have a more clear picture of what it is that we want to achieve, of what it is that we want to do, and we've got a better imagination, because a magician and image and imagination all kind of relate in the idea of having a mental picture of what it is that you want to do. And it's more clear, and you've got an idea of how you're going to go about it. Now that you know why, or you've reminded yourself of why, now you can figure out what you're going to do. And then the question is, are you going to take a risk? Are you going to are you going to step off the cliff? Are you going to take the plunge, whatever expression you might want to use? And assuming that you want to do this still, then you step into the world. You step through whatever that ellipse shape is. You step into the world and you begin to develop the plan, or you begin to put the project in operation, or do what needs to be done. Again, it all depends what the actual project is, or what your original thought is. And if you are willing to take the plunge, the fool, and you do something about it, because it's one thing to, yes, I'm willing to take the plunge, but I'm not actually going to do anything. I'm going to think about it a bit longer. But if you take the plunge and actually do enter the world with your plan, the next thing that happens is you are released. There's an immediate release, because we've got the angel blowing a trumpet, and the people in coffins have been released. So following inspiration, represented by the angel, you are released. So the first attempt is going to be successful, right? Because we're here, we're taking the plunge, we're entering the world. It works, it begins well. We've got a good beginning. And because we've got a good beginning, we are transported. The child can represent the new product, or the new life. Remember, the Hermit's looking at sunrise a new day, and the child on the horse can represent the new day. And it's being transported, so things go well in the beginning because we've got help, and the horse can represent other people willing to go out of their way to help you to go wherever it is that you want to go. So you will get able assistance from other people, or from the world, or from people, or from a team that you're a member of or a part of. And remember that we're not just trying to make sense of the journey itself, but we're at this point with the child on the horse, it can make us realize, or if the sun card comes up, we're going to be more aware of the fact that there's a new thing involved in the answer, and the new thing is going to get support because the child is on the horse. And the sun is shining as well on the scene. So things go, it's a sunny day, it's a nice day, things are going to go well. So you get support. Then with the moon card, maybe at this point you become aware of the magnitude of what it is that you're doing, or what it is you're involved in, because you're going from one environment, the crayfish emerging from the water, onto the land. So you become aware of the magnitude of the change that you're contemplating, or what a change there will be if things go the way you want them to go. But at the same time, you're reminding yourself, or you are reminded, don't follow the trend, don't go with the fad or the fashion, because the dog and the wolf are baying at the moon, and it's all kind of animalistic, and it's not that creative. So, and if we realize the importance of what it is that we're doing, then there's hope and inspiration is going to be our guide. Or maybe if we have the courage to travel this path, then hope and inspiration will be our ammunition, if you need ammunition, or it'll be our resilience, or our supply that we take with us on the journey. Because there will be shocks, there will be defeats, there will be unexpected or unfortunate incidents that happen. So maybe you've got the project and you put it out there and you get a bad response from the world, or you discover there's a defect that you hadn't noticed until you try to make it work. So there will be shocks, there will be difficulties, and the need to review. That's shown by the Tower card. And then we've got the Devil. So when you have a setback represented by the Tower, a setback causes you to rethink what you're doing and what you're involved in and what your freedom is and what's holding you back and what are the obstacles, all represented by the Devil. Because you're held back, you're chained to this circumstance. So it can also make you think about what's the morality of what it is that you're doing. Okay, so are you going to cut corners? Are you going to try and cheat people, or are you going to try and con them into supporting you even if they don't want to? But with the Devil, you end up realizing the need for determination to see things through, and that makes you stronger because you temper metal, you burn off impurities to make it stronger. And so by paying attention to the morality of everything, you get stronger, so that you can begin again, the Death card. So the child, if I can find it here, the child in the Sun card, sitting on a horse, is now a skeleton sitting on a horse. So what's changed? The baby project is now a skeleton. So you've got this structure, you've got the building blocks of the project, and it's firm and it's strong. And so what you do now is you flesh it out, You've got the outline, you've got the structure. Begin again and add the flesh. But you need to be patient because the hangman is upside down. And let it develop so that you have strength. So strength is obviously Leo's the lion, right? Or the lion is Leo, and the woman in white is Virgo, the virgin. So you've got, if you remember from a couple of videos ago, Virgo's a teacher, Leo's the lion. So in order to develop strength, in order to get out of a position of delay and having to hang around, the answer is the teacher controls the lion. The teacher controls the king. The king wants to do whatever he wants to do, and just is selfish and is maybe obnoxious, or maybe wants to use his power. But the Virgo, the teacher, there's something I came across years ago, decades ago, that the person who's best qualified to give orders is the person who can take orders. And maybe that's how you develop strength, by teaching yourself, by figuring out what the rules are and then applying the rules to yourself first. Instead of trying to control other people, you control yourself and your own reaction, which means that you come into the world and you can affect the world. Your project that started here ends up valuable and useful in the world. So that's one way of looking at the hermit's journey. But it's not so much, that thing is, you can go through this multiple times, and every time you go through it, maybe you'll repeat bits and pieces of it, but you're always going to notice something else, something different. Because maybe the next time you go through it, you take a look at the difference between a baton and a sword, or the difference between holding a straight instrument in your left hand and holding a straight instrument in your right hand. Or maybe you notice the two pillars here and see them in another card. Or we've got we've got the two with the sunrise there. You know, we can spot connections, and we've got a path here from the water, and then we've got if I can find the moon card. I mean, what's the connection between this path here, if you can see it, and this path here? So every time you go through this or a similar kind of exercise, you're going to notice different things. And it means that when any of these major trumps comes up in a reading, you're going to have more to say. You're going to have more to say that's relevant about that particular card, or that's important about that particular card. Okay, so today is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I'll see you again on Saturday. Have a good rest of the week. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.